Everyone's talking about the iPhone 17 Pro models right now. That's where all the flashy headlines are. Big cameras, new AI features, sleek refinements. But here's the thing. Most people aren't spending $1,000 or more on a phone. For the majority of buyers, the real story isn't the Pro Max. It's the one Apple hasn't officially revealed yet. The one that might quietly end up in more hands than any other model. I'm talking about the iPhone 17e. At first glance, E might sound like shorthand for entry level, but don't underestimate it. This phone, expected in the first half of 2026, could turn out to be one of Apple's smartest moves yet. Leaks suggest it's getting the same powerhouse chip as the flagships, a design refresh, dynamic island, and possibly even MagSafe, all at a price around $600. Affordable doesn't have to mean boring anymore, and that's what makes this model so interesting. Let's start with timing, because this is where Apple's strategy becomes clear. The iPhone 17e won't arrive this fall with the rest of the lineup. Instead, insiders point to an early 2026 release window, likely between January and May. This staggered approach is deliberate. September belongs to the Pro models, targeting early adopters and tech enthusiasts who want the best right away. Then, a few months later, just as that hype dies down, Apple brings out the E model, sparking a second wave of attention. It keeps the iPhone in the news all year, and it gives buyers who sat out the Pro launch a fresh reason to upgrade. Production has reportedly already entered trial runs as of mid-2025, which is a strong indicator that the early launch is real. Now, what will it look like? According to reports, the iPhone 17e will take inspiration from the iPhone 15's rounded design, rather than sticking with the sharper edges of some recent models. That alone makes it feel more modern than its predecessor. But the big surprise is Dynamic Island finally coming to the budget line. Apple introduced it on the Pro's back with the iPhone 14, and since then it's been slowly trickling down the lineup. On the 17e, it means you'll see music controls, incoming calls, ride tracking, and AirDrop progress all living in that little interactive pill at the top of your screen. For a mid-range phone, that's a huge addition. The display itself will stay around 6.1 inches, using OLED technology for deep blacks and bright colors. The catch is the refresh rate, still 60 Hz instead of the 120 you'll find on the Pro models. But Apple's software optimization makes up for some of that. Scrolling won't feel as buttery smooth as the top-tier phones, but it won't feel sluggish either. For most people, it'll be perfectly fine, especially at this price. Performance is where things get really interesting. The iPhone 17e is rumored to be powered by the A19 chip, the same processor inside the iPhone 17 flagships. This isn't Apple recycling old hardware, it's the latest generation silicon. Even if Apple decides to slightly downbin the chip to reduce cost, you're still getting flagship-level performance in what's supposed to be the budget model. That means fast gaming, smooth multitasking, and plenty of headroom for future iOS updates. And with iOS 26 leaning into new AI-driven features, the 17e won't feel left behind. The camera setup will stay simple, but not weak. Expect a single rear lens with a 48-megapixel sensor, the same resolution Apple already uses in its higher-end models. No telephoto zoom, no ultra-wide, just one lens. But Apple's computational photography does so much work behind the scenes that you're still getting sharp, balanced, vibrant shots. For everyday users, taking photos of friends, vacations, or posting on Instagram, that's more than enough. On the front, the selfie camera should remain at 12 megapixels, paired with Face ID for secure unlocking. It's not going to match the cinematic video modes of the Pros, but it will punch well above the weight class for a phone in this price range. And then there's the software experience. With iOS 26, the iPhone 17e won't just feel like a cheaper phone running the same operating system. Apple is leaning heavily into AI features, and because of the A19 chip, those features won't be locked out. You'll be able to summarize notifications, get smarter voice assistants from Siri, and use new AI-powered photo tools. Combine that with Dynamic Island, and suddenly the interface feels alive. Connectivity and charging are also up to date. The 17e will support 5G, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, NFC for Apple Pay, and most likely Apple's new second-generation modem for better reliability. Wireless charging and fast charging are both expected. The big question is, MagSafe. Apple skipped it on the 16e and fans weren't happy. MagSafe isn't just about charging anymore, it's an entire accessory ecosystem. Wallets, stands, battery packs, car mounts, it's all built around that magnetic snap. If Apple brings MagSafe to the 17e, it will finally make the budget model feel like a complete iPhone experience, rather than a stripped-down version. Storage will likely start at 128 gigabytes, with 8 gigabytes of RAM to keep everything running smoothly. The expected price? Around $599. And that's the part that could make the iPhone 17e a blockbuster. For under $600, you're getting the same chip as the flagships, a high-resolution camera, dynamic island, and the latest iOS features. Compare that to Android phones in the same price bracket, many of which don't get anywhere near the same level of software support. And suddenly, Apple's offering looks very competitive. So who is this phone really for? The short answer, almost everyone. For Apple fans who don't want to spend a fortune, the 17e gives you a modern design, premium features, and years of updates. For Android users who've been curious about switching but hesitant to drop $1,000, this is an easier entry point. For students, parents, or anyone on a tighter budget, it offers reliability and access to the Apple ecosystem without breaking the bank. And for people who keep their phones for 5 or 6 years, the combination of the A19 chip and Apple's long-term software support means this model could easily last nearly a decade. That's longevity you rarely see at this price. But beyond the phone itself, the iPhone 17e highlights Apple's bigger strategy. By splitting the Pro launches in September from the E launches in spring, Apple creates 2 major sales waves instead of one. September stays focused on the tech enthusiasts and headline-grabbing innovations, while spring becomes the moment for the mainstream, the people who just want a reliable iPhone at a fair price. And this approach might be expanding. Recent leaks suggest Apple could even move the standard iPhone 18 to a spring release, while keeping the Pro models on the traditional September timeline. If that happens, it would be a major shakeup to Apple's calendar and a clear sign they're experimenting with ways to stretch attention across the entire year. So, let's recap. The iPhone 17e is shaping up to be an affordable iPhone with a modern design, dynamic island, a 6.1-inch OLED display, a 48-megapixel camera, the A19 chip, iOS 26 with AI features, and possibly MagSafe, all launching in the first half of 2026, priced at around $600. Now the question is, would you buy it? Is $600 for a phone with flagship-level performance and years of updates appealing enough to make you wait? Or are you still saving up for the Pro models? Let me know what you think in the comments.